think it is actually. Good afternoon. My name is John McCarthy. I'm the state's attorney for Montgomery County. I'm honored today to be joined by Officer Patrick Koepp, the Chief of Police for Montgomery County, Chief Mark Yamada, and from the County Council, Don Lukey. Each of the three people's names I just mentioned will say something at some point in time, and I think each is willing to take questions from you. I'm also honored that some of the men and women from the Montgomery County Police Department, some of which you just attended today's proceeding, others who actually testified during the course of this nearly 4-hour sentencing. In what, as I mentioned upstairs, I've only been here about 44 years. I think today, the last 4 hours might have been among the most emotional 4 hours I've spent working in this building over 44 years. This was a case involving a speed race where Officer Patrick Koepp was struck and lost both of his legs back in October of 2023. We went to trial on this matter some months ago. Trial was held before Judge Harry Storm, who's a judge in the circuit court here in Montgomery County. It was a lengthy trial, a hotly contested trial. As I think, being candid, we were not thrilled with the outcome, but as I'm going to steal words from the chief, we abide and we honor the law and we accept the verdict of the jury in the case. But today we are here to announce the sentence that was given. During that case that was tried, the defendant was found guilty of 13 different criminal offenses. The most serious of those offenses was second-degree assault. We asked today, before Judge Harry Storm, the same judge who heard the case originally, we asked and argued for a sentence of 22 years of incarceration. The judge gave precisely a sentence of 22 years, 60 days incarceration in this case for the conglomeration of the 13 counts for which the defendant was found guilty. The judge commented a couple of times today during the course of the sentencing, in comments back and forth with the bench, and again in his own summary when he gave his sentences, that the defendant in this case was warned over and over again that his course of conduct, where he was getting engaged in these speed contests, were endangering not only himself, but the lives of other people. Some of the people here assembled actually had conversations with Mr. Mayorga in advance of the tragic events where Patrick lost his 2 legs in this case. He pretended, I think, to acknowledge and pledge that he was never going to do it again until he continued baiting police officers here in Montgomery County and around the entire Beltway as he participated again and again in speed contests with other people on the roads here in Montgomery County and in the Washington area. In this case, the speed was estimated at 162 miles an hour when Patrick was Koepp was struck and hit as they were attempting to stop him and trying to prevent him from causing injury to other individuals. In many ways, if you were present here today, you realized how wonderfully served we are by the men and women of the Montgomery County Police Department, who actually place themselves so many times in danger to make sure someone else, unknown to them, is not harmed. I will say to you that was a theme throughout today's presentation, how Patrick Koepp and many other police officers, some of whom are staying with me here today, place themselves in harm's way so that an innocent person isn't struck by an individual participating, in this instance, a speed contest at speeds of 150, 160 miles an hour. The impact on this community has been tremendous. It ripples. Look, there's a tremendous impact on the police department in this community. And I will tell you, we are very thankful for the sentence that Judge Storm gave here today. very thankful for that sentence. I think it was appropriate. By the way, just to tell you, because the Maryland sentencing guidelines in this case would have called for a sentence about a tenth of what happened here today. Because this young man, he's young. He's had prior run-ins with the law. He had bench warrants pending. He had different run-ins with the court system before, but he's going to jail for 22 years for what he did in this instance. There were some extraordinary stories told by the men and women, not only that were trying to stop Patrick Kep, so was trying to stop Mr. Mayorga, but came to the aid of Patrick Kep. Let me tell you, it was not only the work that they did on behalf of us trying to keep our roads safe, the training they received as officers, they saved Patrick's life. Patrick, without the immediate assistance he received from fellow officers, he would have bled to death on that street. And I will tell you, we're very thankful for that. He's become a role model for everybody in this department and for many of us in this community. I did not know Patrick before this, but I've come to know Patrick. And the extraordinary kinds of stories about how he shows leadership to everybody, encourages people, and really, he's not maudlin about his situation. He's an inspiration to everybody in this community. He was an inspiration. I met him at Walter Reed, and I didn't know that he was his big thing in life is being a collegiate football official, headed to major college levels. And I would tell you, he was sitting there, without the use of his legs, learning how to walk again. And his first conversation with me is about how he was going to go back on the field and be a football official again. And I guess he's doing replays now on the sidelines. But don't bet against Patrick Kep. Don't bet against this man. He is an extraordinarily talented young man. Look, this was a senseless act. These are the words of the judge. He ignored every warning. This was a game to him. He was a street racer, and that's what he did, and he did it for money. He didn't really care about the potential consequences. And the person who's going to serve and live with the consequences of what happened, and there were some videos that we all saw today in court that were tremendously powerful, cataloging Patrick's battle back to where he is in his life today, but also acknowledging the challenges he's going to have for the rest of his life. Because every day starts with a little bit of a challenge for this young man. So let me say, I want to turn it over now to the Chief of Police, Chief Yamada, to have a few comments.
Thanks, John. As John said, I'm Mark Yamada. I'm the Chief of the Montgomery County Department of Police. Today marks an important step moving forward in the long aftermath of the events that occurred on October 18th, 2023. The individual responsible for intentionally striking Pat Kep was sentenced today, as John said, after a lengthy legal process. And as I said upstairs in front of the judge, we abide by that process. Regardless of the outcome, it cannot undo the pain that was caused that morning, but it does bring a measure of closure and, most importantly, accountability to the defendant's actions. Sergeants Kep, Seymour, and Smith all gave meaningful and courageous statements to the court, and we are extremely pleased that Judge Storm reminded the defendant that actions do have consequences. We are deeply grateful that Pat Kep is here with us today. His recovery and return to work have been a testament to his resilience, strength, and commitment to this department. Pat remains an example to us all, especially those who were on the scene that day, of what it means to serve with courage and resilience. And we are fortunate, very fortunate, to call him a colleague and a friend. Thank you to everyone who worked on this case, especially the prosecution team and those who have supported Pat throughout the process. Days like this remind us of the challenges we face in our profession, but more importantly of the strength we find in one another and our ability to overcome adversity. Thanks.
May I say, and the chief mentioned the team of lawyers that handled this matter. If I could, I want to acknowledge Jim Dietrich and Hannah Gleason from my office, who handled this prosecution and handled the sentencing here today. And I want to thank them. They are two extraordinary lawyers. One of them's meeting the governor today, and if he's smart, he's going to make a really wise choice here by the end of the day about Jim's been nominated to be a judge in the county. But in any instance, I want to thank them for their extraordinary work. I'm now going to ask Dawn Lukey from the County Council to step here for a second to make a comment.
Thank you, State's Attorney McCarthy. On behalf of the county, I just want to offer heartfelt thanks to our State's Attorney's Office team and Assistant State's Attorneys Dietrich and Gleason, who did a phenomenal job, and to our officers who had to relive these moments over and over again. This is stressful. This is emotional. This requires folks to take a moment and know that the folks who serve the state's interests in the state's attorney's office, our police officers who put their lives on the line every day, these are people. These are people. And they have to live with the consequences of what happens to them in service of others. But they take that home with them too. And so for that, I have heartfelt gratitude to all of them for giving of themselves in this way, for Sergeant Kep for continuing to give of himself in his leadership and in his collaboration, particularly on policy issues that I work on, which I greatly appreciate, and to knowing that we have a solid team here in Montgomery County, that our judicial branch was on point, and I am grateful for the professionalism showed by our entire court staff here in working through this case. This has been a tremendous journey, and everyone up here, even though they have been under amazing pressure, has always offered to help someone else in those same moments, including the week before this trial, when I ended up in the hospital. And you know who said, "Do you need me to come to help?" Sergeant Kep, because that's who he is. And he was getting ready for this very emotional piece of his life and this trial. But the first thought in the remarks he gave upstairs today was always about others and thanking others. That's what makes a great team. I'm very proud to be representing Montgomery County, and I am very proud of everyone standing up here with me today. Thank you. And now I want to turn it over to, I'm going to turn it back over to State's Attorney McCarthy.
May I say, this is something that the chief talked about upstairs. The incident with Pat inspired new legislation here in the state of Maryland, and I know the councilwoman worked on that bill too. It's called the Patrick Kep Act. That act will make all of us as citizens in this community safer, and it will provide greater protections for our police officers as well. But again, he's changed, and he has inspired the legislature to give us tools to make us all safer. So we're proud of Patrick for that. And with that, I now give you, with great honor, Patrick Kep.
Thanks, John. I just want to echo a lot of what was said. I want to thank State Attorney McCarthy, and especially Jim and Hannah for their amazing job through all of this. It has not been a easy process or a quick process, or without many speed bumps along the way, but I couldn't have asked for better help from them and guidance, and with all the work that they did. I think while John mentioned it, while we'd all agree that trial was not the exact outcome that we wanted, to say the least, today gives those of us that are here, standing beside me and next to me, those that aren't here, my family, friends, some sense of closure, that we can now move to the next step, put the legal process behind us, and get back to what normal life is now going forward. And that's all thanks to the work that the Montgomery County State's Attorney's Office has done, the County Council and the legislature has done for getting the legal changes going forward that Dawn mentioned. And while they're here in support of me, I'd be, and not to single some out, but there's especially 4 that are here with me now that are incredibly important people, and some spoke today and others were just there in support, but between Officer Smith and Seymour, and then Lieutenants Johnson and Dizikowski, some of my closest friends and colleagues and family through all of this, that really did things behind the scenes that no one will ever know about for many reasons, and just were supportive throughout. So I want to thank everyone that's here, everyone else that's here from the command staff through the department, State's Attorney's Office, and the County Council for all the support through all of it. And I think we're all just happy that we've reached a conclusion today that is as best as it could have been for what was left on the table, and I'm very thankful for everyone's support.
You can direct the questions to anybody up here you want. If anybody has a question that you would like to ask anybody who's assembled, go.
Yeah, I think, a lot of what was said, whether it was through motions hearings, through trial, through evidence for the sentencing itself, was focused on the act itself, the acts leading up to it. And while I, as Dawn said, I do put others ahead, and I think that that's important because it's helped me get through, because everyone else has given me so much support that I feel like I want to give back. I hate talking about the impacts that it has, other than the obvious that I, walk around with prosthetics instead. But I thought it was important, at least for Judge Storm, to be able to hear some of the lasting, lifelong impacts. And I guess one of the main points was, while prior to the sentence being imposed, whatever that sentence was, at the end of that, his life will be normal. He will come out and leave jail or prison and go back to a normal life. My life is not normal really ever again. So that was one point that I really just wanted to, kind of hammer home to the judge and make known.
Can you please just talk about, you mentioned the officers who were joining you here today, they spoke as well, and just talked about what an inspiration you are to them. The chief touched on this as well. I'm just curious, given what has happened today, if you could just reflect on what it means to you to hear how much your strength has inspired the people that are standing up here with you today.
Yeah, I've spoken before about that. It's a tough concept to grasp, because I think both police, law enforcement, and like football officials, we try to stay out of the limelight as best we possibly can, and it's not a role that I particularly was seeking out to try to be into. But I'm really thankful that I'm given that opportunity to, help other people in their struggles through all this, because they've helped me through it. The ones that spoke today, those aren't, new concepts or new comments from them. That's things we've talked about for a long time, and we help each other out through bad days and good days, and continue on. And that's something that I'm eternally grateful to have had their support and, strength from the very beginning, and it continues through today, and it'll continue through, the rest of our lives. So I'm just, I'm very grateful to be able to use that, I hate using the word, but that inspire word, or help, or, guide anyone else that I can, because I've been given so much. I feel like it's my opportunity to give back to others.
Okay.
Can you talk a little bit about how often does something like that happen? If there was a longer sentence, is this something that you all might be trying to do?
Sentencing guidelines as a general proposition have been designed to make sure that similarly situated people charged with the same crimes with the same background get relatively similar sentences. And we've had Maryland sentencing guidelines. They're not mandatory. They are discretionary. If you go below, a judge is supposed to offer an explanation. If you go above, your judge is supposed to offer an explanation. Judge Storm today gave a detailed explanation as to why he went above the guidelines in this case. So it's a suggested sentence. Quite candidly, as I think, as the judge made clear, I'll go back to what Judge Harry Storm said in court, the guidelines did not really take into consideration the facts and circumstances surrounding this kind of an event. And they really, as originally designed, that sentence would have been 3 or 4 years incarceration, not 22 years and 60 days. We thought, we agreed with Judge Storm. We argued for exactly, that's what Jim was arguing for the entire time, that the guidelines were not appropriate, and that's why the judge made the comment. He gave a sentence substantially greater than the guidelines, but he explained it, which he's required to do, and that goes to the Sentencing Commission.